Today I'm going to be playing another Patreon deck from Bob the Warrior, and this looks to be a Murloc Demon Hunter deck that plays a lot of Murlocs. I suppose the reason that we're playing this in Demon Hunter is for the good card draw between Skull of Gul'dan and Glide. Got a decent little removal spell with Eye Beam, and we've also got the new Sigil of Silence. I'm not really familiar enough with Wild to know why we're playing this. I guess it's probably good against like Big Priest or something. But could be a pretty good addition to the deck. The last mage I played against was a Mozaki Mage. Not sure if that's the standard in Wild nowadays. I definitely keep Tidecaller into Rockpool Hunter. War Leader is a pretty good follow-up to that, and if I'm playing this War Leader on 3 pretty often, then Skull of Gul'dan is usually coinable on 5. So I could just full keep this hand. The card I'm least convinced of is War Leader, but it's probably a fine keep. Well, that's a good turn 3 over War Leader. Or maybe a turn 4 to buff the War Leader. Okay, this is probably that same Mozaki list I played against already. The matchup seemed like it could be pretty hard, but my last opponent also drew both Incanter's Flows in the first 3 turns, so that probably made it harder than it should have been. The only secret I saw last time was Ice Block, but I think I'm still gonna play around Flame Ward here. Alright, looks like it probably is just block. So I potentially missed the buff on the War Leader here, but the War Leader only pushed 2 damage this turn, so... I mean, obviously it would have been good to land the +2 health on the War Leader, but can't have it all. Oh, that's a very sad turn for the opponent. Well, let's push some damage. The deck definitely plays Frost Nova. Plays Ray of Frost, but 1 Ray of Frost would not be good enough. I'm not sure if Sigil of Silence is ever good in the matchup. The deck plays Sorcerer's Apprentice and Mozaki. I think those are the only minions it plays. I guess it like sort of prevents my opponent from going Apprentice plus 2nd Nova to like lead into a Mozaki turn. I don't know. Seems like kind of a bad card in the matchup. Also, I don't know if I said this, but I left myself with a board slot here so I can maybe like draw into Megasaur and play that. I think Mozaki can be kind of hard to use if all my Murlocs can't be targeted or have stealth or something. I can just Glide instead of Skull here, but I have no reason to believe that my opponent's hand is good. Maybe I do have some reason to believe that they're holding Mozaki, actually, because there was like turn 4, was it, where my opponent just kind of didn't do anything. So if my opponent's do-nothing hand was holding like Sorcerer's Apprentice Mozaki, I could just be dead here. Also, it could be another Ice Block, which would be annoying. Maybe I do Glide here instead of Skull. But I'm gonna feel really stupid if I Glide them into Mozaki. Oh wait, they did play Ancient Mysteries that turn, so maybe I know they have Ice Block in hand, actually. Probably should have I-beamed my 4-5 there. Looks like my opponent's dead here, unless they have like a bunch of cheap Ray of Frosts. Alright, easy. Yeah, so Glide definitely killed my opponent the turn earlier at the very least, so that was good. Alright, so it looks like everyone in Wild plays this mage deck. We'll just go turn 2 Crab Rider and then Lushwater Mercenary, I guess. Probably just play the 2-drop that does the most damage. This is definitely a race. Thalnos. This might not be the deck I was expecting. Although, wait, maybe that deck does play Thalnos. Because they do play Cram Session and just spell damage is good. Oh. I see. That's surprisingly annoying, I gotta say. I feel like I kind of need to trade into it. We'll just clear the board and try to lead that into a Cold Light Seer next turn. Very unfortunate for me. They removed all my Murlocs, which disables my Primal Fin Lookout.
Let the pain speak to me.
I guess I'm killing Acolyte here. I missed one healing, I think, but whatever. The 1/3 is just so good against my 2/1s.
At last, a worthy disciple.
Highlander Mage is not unexpected. Could just go like War Leader, Cold Light Seer, or even like Rock Bull, Cold Light Seer, Hero Power. Maybe that's better. Let's do that actually. I have a nice stable board to start landing more Murloc stuff on.
Need a key?
I feel like there's no chance where you pick Counterspell here. But I also don't really have to play Skull this turn anyway.
I grow
See if I can hit like another Cold Light Seer. underwhelming. Probably want a bluegill at this point in the game. Oh, Oasis ally, I see. I've got 10. War Leader does another 7. So I put my opponent to 3 with Demon Claws Bluegill next turn. Although I guess if I'm getting like Flamestruck or something, the water elemental's freezing my face. But I can always skull into like another bluegill or something that buffs it. Unfortunate. Well, would have been a good turn to have played my Sigil of Silence. This definitely seems like a Skull of Gul'dan turn.
Alas, poor warlock.
Ooh, give my Murlocs Rush. It's gotta be a Megasaur. Poisonous, +3 attack. +3 attack is lethal, I believe. Easy game. Alright, so I've started out 4-1 with this deck. So, you know, 4-1, pretty good. I will say, though, that of those 5 games, I've played against 4 mages, which really makes me want to include, like, Eater of Secrets or something in this deck. But, I don't know, I feel like every time I play Wild, I play against so much mage. But I know that, like, statistically, there aren't actually that many mages in Wild, so maybe it's just a rank thing. So since it's probably a rank thing, I will refrain from putting Secret Hate in my deck for now, I guess. Other than that, though, probably just want to look at the Murlocs that we are or are not including. The thing that really stands out to me is that we're only playing a single 1-drop in this deck, which seems pretty slow for a Murloc deck. So I for sure want to be including Murmy. Generally Finley is pretty good, but I feel like as Demon Hunter we have the best hero power already, so probably not Finley, but definitely Murmy, and then even maybe like Murloc Tiny Fin. Murloc Tiny Fin got a lot better with Murlocs in the new set, because it's good with Lushwater Mercenary and Lushwater Scout. And then it's also just good to play in the same turn as, you know, Cold Light Seer or Gentle Megasaur or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think I like those early game Murlocs. As far as other Murlocs go, I think we've pretty much got the good ones and kept out the trash ones. The only Murloc we're playing that I don't really like is Primal Fin Lookout. It's a fine card, but it's low stats for the cost, and we play double Glide, double Skull of Gul'dan. So I don't feel like we're too worried about card draw, which makes me want to just cut this. As far as finding slots for the Tiny Fins, I would probably cut Sigil of Silence. I don't know if, like, ranking up there's a bunch of Big Priest or something that this is really good against, but it's been completely useless in all 5 of the games I've played. And even if you're hitting just like one card to Defender, I think this deck can kind of power through that anyway. So, not a big fan of that card. I also haven't really needed the I-beams at all. But as I said, I've pretty much mostly just been playing against Mage. So like maybe I-beam really shines against like, I don't know, Aggro Druid or maybe even Secret Mage, which I'm not playing against. But for now I don't really like I-beam either. Outside of Murlocs, there's definitely some stuff we could be playing. Even though it's not a Murloc, we could definitely just play Battle Fiend as a 1-drop. The card is just pretty good. We could actually play Double Jump in this deck instead of like Glide. So you just always draw into Skull, and then we like sort of have 4 Skulls in our deck instead of 2 Skull, 2 Glide. I will say generally I'm not a big fan of Glide. I do think it won me a game against Mage, but I had another game where I glided against a full hand Mage and then they just killed me the next turn, so not really sure if I love this card in general. We could also play Twin Slice in this deck, just because it's a good amount of damage. We could maybe play Chaos Strike as a bit of a card draw thing instead of Glide. We could play Illidari Inquisitor in this deck, just because I'm like pretty sure this card is super busted. But 8 mana might be a little bit slow in this format. I guess if I keep playing against this much Mage, then Cult Neophyte's probably just pretty good against that deck. Alright, so I've thought about things a bit, and I think I am just going to cut Glide for Double Jump. And then I'm going to cut this Eye Beam for a Battle Fiend. And I think this just makes the deck a little bit more slim and efficient. But I will say that like every card I cut is potentially really good in like a certain matchup. But I'm just not seeing those matchups, so it's like hard for me to justify keeping them in the deck. So at this point I think this is what I want to be playing. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but we definitely could try to get like a weapon in here. But none of the weapons in particular stand out as being super strong. Probably would play Umberwing if I was forced to pick one, maybe like Umberwing over Bluegill Warrior. But we'll play it as is for now. Not sure what Demon Hunter looks like in this format.
Dare speak to me?
I hear Crab Rider's hard to deal with on turn 2, so I'm just going to try to play it there. Found a nice Mermy to curve into it. Beautiful. Okay, odd Demon Hunter, as expected. Probably just coin Crab Rider here, honestly. If it gets hero powered down, I think that's fine. This is a really good trade for me. Can just play Tidecaller Mermy next turn. Oh, no 1-drop. That's very sad.
I grow impatient.
My opponent seems to be having a bad time over there. I'm gonna go War Leader here. Seems like Cold Light Seer didn't really do enough. And if the War Leader can live, and then I can go Tidecaller Seer next turn, that's probably just a game-winning board. Kind of unfortunate, but the Cold Light Seer is still good here. I anticipate that 2 of these minions will survive for Megasaur, which is probably good enough.
I grow impatient.
I don't think that's too big of a deal, because I was planning on that just getting killed by the weapon this turn anyway.
Time grows short. Vengeance is mine.
Megasaur's decent here, but I think it can be a little bit better next turn. And that Furious Felfin trade just looked really nice.
A warden always hits her mark.
Why? Is that normal? There's no way. My opponent's playing Waste Warden. What the fuck? I should have cast double jump here. I was thinking about just playing it with Skull next turn, but since my hand is empty, I can just double jump here. I'm still so distracted by the Waste Warden. Not only did it clear my board, it did significant mental damage.
One day, I'll be a real knight.
This card is in 0.1% of decks, and has an average deck win rate of 31.6%.
What's wrong?
Oh wait, maybe I wasn't clicking on the right thing. No, I was. Oh god, wasting the mana here. I could have, like, hero powered and rushed the sun. I guess I just pass here so I can buff all these with Cold Light Seer. Wow, that's really good. I have to attack before I can use this. There's nowhere that the 1 damage matters. This goes in here. This thing can value trade, value trade. Wait, I don't actually have to attack with this. It already has enough power and rush because of this. The powerful I-beam. I need to draw my other skull, pretty much, if I want to have a chance. Well, that's not what I was looking for.
I will silence their screams.
I'm gonna need one of these Murlocs to stick and then give it poisonous with Megasaur, probably.
What's wrong?
I need to hit, like, Skull into Bluegill Megasaur or something. Well, sometimes you build a deck with 20 Murlocs and your opponent is playing Waste Warden. Alright, there's the mage I was anticipating. I guess I just coin scout into Mercenary. Okay, just kidding, I play Tidecaller on one. And then probably use coin on turn 3 to play double Murloc. My opponent might be hero powering the Tiny Fin here, but if they're hero powering on this turn, I'm pretty happy with that. That is fine. Man, I have so many good options here. Probably just go for the most immediate stats. I have 2 rush cards in my hand, which are both pretty useless, since my opponent only plays like 3 minions. Oh, just kidding. My rush cards are so sick here. Look at this. Give my Crab Rider rush, but more importantly, +1 attack. I can draw like War Leader or something for lethal here. That's not lethal, but it's damage. Actually, maybe this is lethal? I don't think it is. Oh, it is lethal. Easy turn 4 lethal. Alright, so I ended up playing 15 games with this deck. Notably, 9 of my 15 opponents were playing Mage, so good format. But anyway, I ended up going 8-7. So I won more than I lost, but not a super impressive win rate. I was originally playing against a bunch of Mozaki Mage, but it felt like the more I climbed, you know, all the way up to gold, I started playing against like basically the same deck but with Flame Wakers instead. That deck just seems a lot better and a lot harder to beat. And then I played against like a Secret Mage that seemed really hard to beat. What else? I played against Highlander Priest, which seemed really hard to beat because their whole deck is AoE. Played against Odd Paladin, and even with a turn 2 scout that stuck to the board, I could never clear their board, and eventually I just got ran out of stuff by the Paladin. So, I don't know, it just seemed like pretty much all the matchups I was running into weren't really very good for me. Bob the Warrior did have a much better win rate than me. They went 9-1. So maybe I was doing something wrong, but it's also a Murloc deck, so not really sure how much decision making there even is in the average game. I think that maybe we just played against different fields, or perhaps I just low rolled a bit. As far as the changes I made to the deck, I don't really regret any of them. I didn't miss Glide at all. Maybe Double Jump isn't necessarily the appropriate replacement for it. There are other draw cards you could play. Chaos Strike, Spectral Sight, Acrobatics. I think any of those would be pretty reasonable. The Mermy and the Tiny Fin I think were both pretty decent. The Battle Fiend was pretty decent. I mean, like, Tiny Fin and Battle Fiend are probably pretty replaceable. Maybe, like, Twin Slice could go in that slot. Twin Slice is a very powerful card. But I think if I'm going to put Twin Slice in this deck, I kind of just want to cut Bluegill Warrior. We have so many 2-drops, and it's not something I ever really want to be playing on turn 2, so it's just kind of like late game deal 2 damage. But like, Twin Slice just does that better, I think. So let's just play that. And then like, maybe if you want to cut Tiny Fin, I would probably play Umberwing, maybe? But I don't necessarily want to cut Tiny Fin, I think. I think I'm pretty happy with this list. Not really too much room to play around with the cards in a Murloc deck, but I think this one looks pretty okay.